The detention hangar on Station Kuruvak smelled of ozone and fear. Kalen Dross pushed his cleaning cart past the reinforced observation windows, barely glancing at the creature that had turned an entire diplomatic summit into chaos. Everyone else stayed away from Bay 7. Even the security officers armed with plasma rifles and ion shields kept their distance from the transparent aluminum barrier. Inside the bay, Thryax waited. The alien was massive, 15 feet of chitinous armor, 4 arms ending in blade-like appendages, and a head crowned with sensory spines that shifted like seaweed in an invisible current. It had torn through 3 battalions of Corvian warriors when they'd tried to capture it on its home moon. The station commander wanted it studied. The science division wanted it cataloged. Everyone else just wanted it gone. Callan didn't want anything. He just cleaned. He'd been working the night shift on Kuruvaks for 2 years, ever since the transport accident that killed his wife and daughter. The station offered isolation, routine, and silence, 3 things that helped him survive each day. Other humans called him the ghost janitor. He preferred it that way. As he mopped the corridor outside Bay 7, something caught his attention. Through the barrier, Thryax's sensory spines had gone rigid. The creature's massive body trembled and a sound emerged from its throat, low, rhythmic, almost like keening. Kalen had heard that sound before in the weeks after the accident, coming from his own chest at 3 a.m. The sound of grief. He stopped mopping. Protocol said civilians weren't allowed near the detention subject. Protocol said a lot of things. Kalen set down his mop and approached the control panel. His maintenance clearance still worked. No one had bothered to restrict a janitor's access. The inner airlock door hissed open. "Stop." A voice crackled through the intercom. "Civilian exit immediately." Kalen stepped inside. The airlock cycled. On the security feed, he knew they were panicking, calling for armed response. It didn't matter. He'd made his choice. The inner door opened and he stood face to face with Thryax. The creature's eyes, 3 of them arranged in a triangle on its angular face, fixed on him. Up close, Thrix was even more imposing. Its breath came in sharp bursts, steaming in the cool air. The blade arms tensed. Callan reached into his maintenance jumpsuit pocket and pulled out his lunch, a simple piece of bread he'd saved from the mess hall. It was all he had. He held it out, palm up, arm steady despite the creature's proximity. "I know you're scared," Callan said quietly. "I know you don't understand what's happening." Neither do I most days. Thrix's sensory spines quivered. The creature's massive head tilted, studying this small, soft being that had walked into certain death-carrying food. The blade arm slowly lowered. Callan took a step closer. "You're alone here. Everyone's afraid of you. But I think you're just afraid of them." He glanced at the observation windows where dozens of faces now pressed against the glass. They don't understand. They see weapons and armor. They see a monster. The bread remained in his outstretched hand. Thryax leaned down, its head now level with Callan's. The sensory spines extended slowly, carefully, until they hovered inches from his face. Kalen held perfectly still. He'd read somewhere that these spines detected emotional states through biochemical signatures. Let it read me, he thought. Let it see I'm not here to hurt it. One of Thryax's smaller arms, delicate compared to the blade limbs, reached out. The appendage had 3 finger-like projections. They gently took the bread from Kalen's palm with surprising tenderness. The creature brought the bread to its mouth and consumed it in a single bite. Then Thryax made a sound Kalen had never heard before, a soft, rumbling purr that vibrated through the floor. The massive body lowered itself down until the creature sat, head bowed toward the human. Callan understood. He'd felt this way once when a stranger at the memorial service had simply held his hand without saying a word. Sometimes the simplest gesture meant everything. He reached out and placed his hand on Thryax's armored head. The chitin was warm, surprisingly smooth. The creature's eyes closed. "You lost someone too, didn't you?" Kalen whispered. "That's why you fought so hard. That's why you're here." Through the observation windows, the station commander stood frozen. The Corvian military attaché looked baffled. The xenobiologists frantically scribbled notes. None of them had expected this. None of them had thought to try kindness. Over the following weeks, Callan became the only person Thryax would tolerate. The creature ate when he delivered food. It allowed medical scans when he stood nearby. Through careful observation and the xenolinguistics team's translation efforts, They learned 3X's story, a guardian whose world had been destroyed, whose people had been scattered, whose only purpose had been protecting the young ones it could no longer find. The warriors of a dozen species had tried to subdue 3X with force. They'd failed because they'd approached a bereaved guardian as an enemy. Kalen had succeeded because he'd approached it as a fellow mourner, offering the most human thing imaginable, a piece of bread and a moment of understanding. The station commander eventually asked Kalen how he'd known what to do. "I didn't," Kalen admitted. "I just knew what I needed when I was at my worst. Someone to see me, someone to offer something simple with no conditions, someone who wasn't afraid to stand close to the pain." 3 months later, when the xenobiologists finally located 3X's scattered colony on a refuge world, the creature refused to leave until Kalen agreed to come. The human janitor who'd lived in isolation for 2 years found himself on a transport to an alien world, carrying a loaf of bread and a translator device. As their ship departed Keruvax, 3X pressed its head against the observation port, watching the station shrink into the distance. Kalen stood beside it, one hand resting on the creature's arm. "We're going to be okay," he said softly. "Both of us." And for the first time since the accident, Kalen believed it.